So now we know that we have a very structured, so this genetics have actually programmed certain genes in our body, and they have made a very established appetite system that regulates our weight. So I would be going through the few of our, I know that you have heard this a lot, but it's very important to understand the concept. So in our brain, there are few areas that controls our weight. So there are three parts to our appetite system. So one of the part is the homeostatic system. The other one is the motivation, go get find food, and but the ultimate decision is being done by the executive system, which is basically the boss, the frontal cortex. What should I eat? What time should I eat? How much I have to eat? Should I eat? Should I not? So I usually relate it with some characters, and courtesy to Dr. Macklin, he has actually introduced that concept. He uses different characters theme. So the first part, the homeostatic system, is basically the engineer of the body. Most of the body functions are being controlled by this hypothalamus, or the engineer of the body. Let's say temperature, blood pressure, heart rate. We have certain range of temperature. So if we exceed, we shiver, our body brings it back. If it's higher, we have sweating. If we have high blood pressure, then it constricts the blood vessel, so it brings it in a normal range. Exactly. Our weight, if we have the weight, some study says 6 months, some say 18 months, so between 6 and 18 months, if our weight is at that point, then our engineer or hypothalamus think that's it's my weight, and I want to defend it. So plus minus 5-6 pounds. So you go out, have weddings, or you visit your back home, you eat a lot. When you come back, you might have gained 5-6-7 pounds, but it comes back by itself without your efforts. This is how the engineer defends the weight, right? But when you do an active weight loss, right, and you're losing 10, 15, 20 pounds at one time, it shuts down. It says, hey, something's wrong happening to me. I am here to defend the weight. So what he does in order to defend the weight, he start getting panic, because there's certain signal in the body that goes low. And one of the signals is left, and I'm not going to go into detail. That level goes down. He's watching that level. It goes down. He start pushing the panic button. And when he pushed the panic button, the second layer of the appetite get activated, which is the motivational system, which I called it as the hippie. So this hippie, this go-getter kind of a person, it's the motivation to go find food, and then it relates it to the memory. So he gets panic, he pushes the button, the go-getter now go and finds the food. But the good thing about him, he has to make this experience pleasurable. Otherwise, you won't go out in the snow to hunt for food, right? It has to be a pleasurable experience. So one time you never had a popcorn, and once you have a popcorn in front of a TV, linked together. TV, popcorn, popcorn, TV, birthday cake, wedding, some dessert. So it connects the place with the food, and memories build. So the more you do the same thing is just engraved. So many of you would say that once you have a dinner, right, at 10 o'clock, TV is open, and then unconsciously you're going out in your snack cabinet and having something to eat, right? But if you're not in that TV environment, in the kitchen environment, you're at home, you never have that connection. So that's the motivation system. Got it? So the engineer gets panicked, you have lost weight, the motivation system get activated, and he wants to find the food, and he wants to find the right amount of food that clicks to the memory. Now, what happens is that, so when the motivation system comes up, it sends a wave. Now, wave always have a crest and a trough, right? So whenever you're thinking about a craving, temptation, remember this is auto-generated, very short-lived. It comes and it goes. So wanting, temptation, desire, urges are very short-lived. So as soon as it comes, it hits the third layer of the appetite system, which is the boss here. Because it's happening in the unconscious level, because now you have the craving. Somebody has to act on it. Who will act on it? Your boss, your executive system. So as soon as it hits the executive system, what does the executive system does? He's sleeping. He's tired. He has so many things to do. He didn't sleep last night. He had so much work to do, assignments to submit, projects to submit. The baby was crying all night and he was restful, talking to the doctors, making appointments. He don't have time to tell the craving that this is not right for you. So what he does, everything on autopilot, back of the mind. I'm not going to make an active decision. You do whatever you're good at it. This is what he says to the thoughts that are coming. It's been a long day. I deserve it. I'm tired. I have to eat it because it gives me energy. I'm on track, so I can take it. I'm off track, so it doesn't matter. I really like it. It remembers me of my grandma. It remembers I'm enjoying it. I'll do it. And the most common thing, I can have it now and I'll start from Monday. And that Monday never comes, right? And then what's happening back of the mind. So this is how our genetics and our motivation system comes interact with the current environment, and our executive who's sleeping makes pointless, mindless decisions. So yes, the unconscious level part, yes, it's not in our control. Now we know what are the things that can modify that with medications, so we'll talk about that. But the mind that is sleeping, it needs an awakening. It needs knock. Please get up, be mindful, don't be tired, don't be sleepy, right? So that's why the active psychotherapy is here. So that's what I usually represent. What's happening, this caveman with that genes and motivation system is now having McDonald's. So what's he going to do with McDonald's fries and buns? He's going to store it, right? Same thing happening with these polar bears. So you put these polar bears in a Sahara deserts, what's going to happen? Are they going to survive 1 month, 2 months? This is what's happening to us, that now we are ultimately, we're not going to die in this obesogenic environment, but this is how we are getting diseased. Does that make sense here? So one of the things that we in this program, or not in this program, the whole approach to obesity is making sure that this sleepy executive is waked up and he's knocking down all the motivation, dissociating the memories, making a conscious element, challenging the thoughts that are coming. So that's why the conclusion to the talk is obesity is chronic. It is a progressive disease. It is a real medical condition. It is inherited in our genes, which is centered in our brain to control the appetite system and influenced by the environment, and do get worse over time. And it does require treatment and regular follow-up. And that's why the approach to obesity is fourfold. So we have the hypothalamus and the motivational system, the unconscious system, that is targeted through anti-obesity medication. So the hormonal balance get normalized. Then we have the sleepy executive. We need to wake him up. That's why behavior interventions are offered. And then the lifestyle part. Then, of course, the medical nutritional therapy has a role to play. And in the end, we offer metabolic surgery. So we used to call it, the word is a bariatric, but in common word, metabolic surgery. So when we do the surgery for weight loss, they have certain influences on the hormones. That's why people are losing weight, because the certain surgeries, they do level out the hormone.